Welcome to r/Maliciouscompliance, where OP's boss gets herself fired. Our next Reddit post is from Frantic Pedantic. Years ago, I worked in a semi-public sector job as part of a successful team helping make life easy for local businesses. Our team boss took a good job in the private sector, and a new boss was recruited from a decent organization similar to ours in a different part of the country. She worked compressed hours Monday through Thursday and was off on Fridays. A month or two in, and although the new boss was quite particular about things being done her way and had upset a couple of my colleagues by criticizing their work, I'd had no problems with her. We had a team meeting where the boss said that our performance wasn't good enough. We were arguably the best in the country, and that she wanted to be more involved in what and how we did everything to ensure better quality, and so we should copy her on every client email so she could comment as needed before we sent another reply. Although this seemed inefficient, nobody argued, and I just asked her if I should wait until Monday for her to comment on any client emails received on a Friday. I can't remember exactly what she said, but at the end of the meeting she asked me to stay behind and then told me in a heated tone that my question was bullying behavior, that it was unprofessional to ask that question in front of the team, and said that my actions were the sort of thing that HR would see as grounds for dismissal and that I should be very careful in the future. I told her I understood, and we returned to our desks, where I wrote up every single detail of the entire meeting and interaction, and sent it off to the head of HR with the explanation that since bullying was very serious and it may not be reported by the victim, I felt duty-bound to report myself. I also laid it on pretty thick about being appalled by my unprofessional behavior and the fact that my career was likely at risk, and I clearly had a desperate need for training and discipline to fix my dangerous ways. I also copied my union rep. Within a day, me, my union rep, and my boss were with the head of HR, who, being a by-the-book professional, could find no indication of bullying or justification for my fears of being an unprofessional bully in need of re-education. I was asked to leave the meeting. My union rep stayed in, and I don't know what was said, but within 6 weeks, my boss was gone, and that same week, my big boss called me in to thank me as he had wanted to get rid of her but didn't know how. I swear r/Maliciouscompliance would literally not exist as a subreddit if it weren't for terrible managers. Our next Reddit post is from Z Del Marco. I'm posting mainly because I'm not a passive-aggressive type, and I'm in disbelief that this actually worked. Ever since I started at my job a few months ago, my supervisor, Josh, has been micromanaging me. When I'm the subject of criticism, which is often, I try to give him the benefit of the doubt and ask him to clarify. What are your expectations? What specifically should I have done differently? Josh's responses are always vague, often something to the effect of, just do better. I even had a meeting with Josh and HR to address this, but to no avail. Yesterday, Josh comes to my desk and tells me I need to dress better. Now, I work at a small company, and the vibe is unusually casual. A not insignificant number of people come to work wearing jeans, hoodies, t-shirts, or baseball caps. I've never worn a hat to work, and I make a point of wearing a button-up shirt with a collar every day. This particular day, I was wearing a long-sleeve button-up flannel, chino pants, and Adidas Gazelles. Other days, I wear loafers and dress shirts that are tucked in. So I asked Josh to clarify. Should I be wearing dress shoes, dress shirt, tucked in? What specifically do you want me to change? Josh tells me I need to just dress better, and that I should talk to HR for clarification. So I go into HR and ask, what's the dress code? I get the standard answer, pants, closed-toed shoes, no sleeveless shirts, etc. I ask, have I ever worn anything to work that poses a problem? HR says, no, you're fine. Because I'm mad and because my repeated efforts to resolve this kind of problem had gone unheeded, I decided to be petty. The next day, which is today, I showed up to work in a full suit. It's one that I keep for events like weddings, so it's fitted and I look really sharp in it. It's also wildly and conspicuously overdressed for the office I work in. I had several interactions with people coming to my desk to comment on my outfit and ask what the occasion was. When anyone asked, I told them I had been told to dress better. This was always met with disbelief and incredulity. 2 people even said they liked the way that I dress normally. When someone asked me who the order came from, and only if they asked, I told them it came from Josh. I was expecting to pull my little stunt for a week just to prove a point, and then go back to wearing what I had been wearing before. Word got around the office fast, apparently, because the CEO, Josh's direct boss, came to my desk later in the day to tell me that I'd be reporting to him now, and that he'd be having a talk with Josh about this and other issues. It's important to note that I was Josh's only underling, so he effectively went from being a supervisor to just a regular employee. I'm on a bit of a high now. I think I'm going to come into work tomorrow wearing a different one of my flannels. Sounds like a really classic case of just management trying to make themselves feel better by putting down the people beneath them, which means that they're not a good manager. Our next Reddit post is from Flossing Horse. I booked accommodation 2 months in advance for St. Patrick's weekend in Dublin. It was a fairly ancient bed and breakfast, but for €115, it was a place to sleep and the cheapest option for the busiest weekend of the year in Dublin. It was one double bed for me and a buddy to share. It was pay on arrival. 3 weeks before the stay, the accommodation manager messaged me on the app that I booked the stay on telling me there's a problem, that I could no longer stay and to cancel on my side immediately. No apology, let alone help offered by them. This was followed by multiple phone calls daily, along with text messages in a harassing nature saying I need to cancel now so I can get my money back. Once again, it was pay on arrival. I didn't answer the calls or messages telling me to cancel. Something felt off, so I checked the listing for the night that I was supposed to stay, and it just so happens the accommodation had been listed again for double the price. Likely, the manager realized St. Patrick's weekend was a cash grab. Maybe not immediately, but at the property manager's request, I simply rang Booking.com and told them I'd like to cancel my booking. The customer service rep asked why I was canceling. I explained in detail all of the above to her, and things took an unexpected turn for the property manager. Ultimately, the rep agreed that the property was acting in an unfair manner, and the solution was that Booking.com would find me accommodation within 1 kilometer. Originally, they tried to get me to stay way outside the city, but I wasn't having it. The original property would have been liable to cover any difference in cost. Here's the good part. Finding accommodation 3 weeks before St. Patrick's Day in Dublin is about as difficult as trying to light a fire with flint and steel in the rain. Near impossible. Everything within a 1 kilometer range was booked out, except for a well-known 4-star hotel. The room alone cost €350 per night and had 2 double beds, a much bigger room and a nicer location. The customer rep had to get it cleared by her team lead, so I just sat on hold doing chores for 25 minutes. Eventually, they came back and said that it was all signed off on, and they'd send me a special link. What a treat! I gladly accepted their compromise. This, in turn, meant the property owner that tried to force me to cancel on my end was now indebted €235. And we got a massive upgrade for the same price that we originally had. I had to pay the €350 up front and had to keep receipts and show proof of payment to the booking partner after our stay. But I got my refund of $235 the following week. Our next Reddit post is from Obvious Secretary. I'm 15 years old and work as a soccer referee. I'll normally arrive 10 to 15 minutes early to a game, which is plenty of time to check in players from both teams and make sure the field is in proper playing condition. One time, I showed up as an assistant referee. My center ref, who's 18, Dave, told me that all refs have to arrive 30 minutes early to every game. I know this is not true, and I stayed silent. We refed the game as usual, and returned to where we put our stuff at the end of the game. Dave told me that because I didn't arrive 30 minutes early, he would mark that I didn't show up, basically telling me that I wouldn't get paid for the game that we just worked. I complained that this was a rule that he made up. He left the game without saying anything else, figuring that would be all. Note, if you referee without an assistant, you get paid like $5 more. I think this was Dave's plan. When I got home, I made sure to sign up to be the center referee at every game where Dave was an assistant referee. Poor Dave showed up to his next game 15 minutes early, which is absolutely unacceptable. I said nothing the whole game, but only marked him absent, which means he wouldn't get paid. This went on for about a week and a half until his paycheck came in, and he was about $120 short of what his total should have been. I did make sure every game that Dave was less than 30 minutes early. Dave emails one of the main referees, who runs everything, to see what the problem was. One of the main referees, John, told Dave that he wasn't there, so he wouldn't get paid. Dave put 2 and 2 together and realized what I did. Emails were sent between Dave, John, and I until John had the full story. Dave was fired for making up rules, and I got paid for the first game with Dave. Don't take advantage of young people. Take that, Dave! Our next Reddit post is from Tawny Fritz. Our yard is wild. I mean that in the real definition of living or growing in the natural environment. We have no lawn. We aggressively remove and prevent invasive and noxious species of plants and ensure that what grows is native to our area and drought resistant. The wildflowers that grow are things like lupine, blue flax, spiderwort, black-eyed Susans, and sunflowers, among others. We have natural elements like driftwood logs to retain water, and we even have an elk skull in the yard to act as a shelter for critters. There's a plethora of birds, bees, bunnies, and other wildlife. More wildlife than any yard in the area, as far as I can tell. It's beautiful and alive, but definitely not a manicured lawn with perfectly cut grass and landscaping. Last summer, we got a notice from the county that our yard was in violation of some county ordinance. My husband called the number on the phone and got a very over-it employee who let out a big sigh and said that he had gotten like 30 complaints from one person for the entire strip of road that we live on. Keep in mind, you can't batch report an area. You have to file reports house by house. So someone had the time and energy to pull up Google Maps and file a report for about 30 houses for overgrown weeds. I checked the county ordinance and made sure everything we had in our yard was in compliance. Things like purposefully cultivated, which our wildflowers definitely were. We planted specific species of seeds and we removed whatever's not native. None of the wild plants block any sidewalk, nor do they hang over onto other properties. Now knowing that it was someone with way too much time on their hands, I did some reading and learned that my yard has everything needed and then some to qualify as a national wildlife habitat. So I filled out the form, paid the fee, and got my certificate. My husband called the county employee back who said, "Send me that certificate." He looked it over, thanked my husband for the new information he can use in the future, and closed our case. I now have signs on my yard that announce the property as a wildlife habitat, and the birds and bees get to keep living happily in the wild. Our next Reddit post is from Stardust Frost. A new manager comes in loud, talking about structure and consistency. Suddenly, no work from home, no flex hours, no swapping paid time off. I asked to move 2 days for my cousin's wedding, and she just goes, "Sorry, we can't make exceptions to anyone. It wouldn't be fair." Alright then, I put in a request for all 23 of my unused paid time off days, straight through the end of the quarter. No overlap, no coverage. It got approved in like 10 minutes? Lol, okay. Couple of days later, she's in full panic mode. Wait, who's handling your workload? I don't know, I assumed you had a plan. No exceptions, right? She had to cover me and deal with the fallout. Stuff piled up, clients got pissy, 2 people quit. I came back to a new HR memo. Managers can now approve flexible paid time off on a case-by-case basis. Turns out, fair looks different when you're the one getting screwed. Down in the comments, we have this story from Indie Colts fan. I know a guy who put in a request for vacation and it got approved, so he bought plane tickets, reserved hotel rooms, etc. for his vacation. Well, 1 to 2 weeks before the vacation was about to start, his boss told him that his paid time off was canceled due to a client engagement. My friend explained that the request was approved and he spent money on a bunch of non-refundable items, but the boss wouldn't budge and told him the expectation was for him to be working with the client during that time. So that time rolled around, and my friend called in sick, took his vacation anyway, and then resigned when he returned. So instead of delaying the client a week or 2 in the first place, they had to scramble to find someone to take the engagement, and it was delayed anyways. Management can be really effing dumb and short-sighted. Our next Reddit post is from Yakusaka. So I work in complaints for a major telecom operator, and we're swamped. We're working in crisis mode, as we don't have enough people to do what we need to do, and every complaint that isn't solved in 15 days, one way or another, accrues fines from the regulator. Now, in crisis mode, we just auto-approve small claims because it's cheaper than the fines for being late. I get a huge claim on my desk, easily 100 times more than the fine for being late. It's 14 days old. I go to my supervisor, but he says it's too big for him. He can't authorize it, and he thinks it would be cheaper to take the fine and work everything out in due time. But he'll check with his superior and get back to me. Fine, I go back to work doing other cases for the rest of the day. The next day, my supervisor's boss comes to me asking why that particular case is on its 15th day. So I tell him, and he's furious. Everything should be approved. It's crisis mode. We can't allow it to be fined, and so on. So I ask him to authorize it, saying once more it's 100 times more expensive than the fine would be. He says he doesn't care and he'll authorize it. I say it needs to be investigated. Once more, he just says he'll authorize it. Now, for clarification, his bonus is reliant on late cases. Fewer late cases means more bonus. So I say, fine, sign here, and he does. I process it and forget about it. Come the end of the month, a huge commotion happens. The sector director is in my supervisor's boss's office yelling like there's no tomorrow. I get called in, and the issue is that case. And the jerk who authorized it is trying to throw me under the bus. It turns out it was a fraudulent complaint, and we had to investigate it before making a decision. The sector director just asked who authorized it, and I bring him the signed papers. I get sent out. A few days later, the boss gets the sack. Gee, I wonder why. That was r/Maliciouscompliance, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.